Very good.
Welcome to the Social Coast. Anita and Tina here, laughing up a storm already. We're getting ready to talk about graphic design, do-it-yourself graphic design for social media. And our good friend Colleen is here, and Colleen is a professional graphic designer. So she'll have some tips for us as well, probably for those times when you feel you want to do it yourself, or it's a really quick project and you can't afford to hire a professional. But we also want to talk about when you should hire a professional, because not everything is meant to be DIY. Right. So welcome to anybody that's listening in and not logged in, and anybody that is catching us on the replay. We're here in Halifax enjoying a snow day with our kids, and we're ready to chat with you about do-it-yourself graphic design tips, tools, sizes, anything you want to know. We will try to help you. So if you have questions, log into Blab and chat your questions, type your questions over here in the right-hand side or down below in the app. Just log in with your Twitter account if you're listening in and you haven't logged in yet, and that will let you interact with us. If you could take a minute, if you've got the tweet button over on the left, you could tweet out that you're listening into us. Right now I've got the share last 30 seconds button. I don't have a tweet button over there. So you could go to Twitter and retweet the tweet that I just sent, or you could share the last 30 seconds, which is absolutely nothing important yet. So that's kind of an annoying new feature on Blab, that share last 30 seconds, because you never know when it's going to appear. It just, I don't know, it comes and goes, and it doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it.
I'm just happy I got on Blab today, Anita, so I will tweet anything.
Well, I find Blab has been better lately. I haven't had any troubles getting on, but they're making a ton of changes to the layouts and the search features and all kinds of other things. So I think we're going to see some really neat stuff coming from Blab lately. Soon.
Yep. Soon. I'm following. I have to take my scarf off now. I'm having a hot flash.
All right, so let's start and talk about why are pictures and graphics so important to social media. There was a statistic that I read. I was doing a presentation on something for social media somewhere along the lines in the last 6 months, and I found this statistic that said we process pictures 60,000 times faster than text. And that to me is just unfathomable. I can't even comprehend just how much faster that is. But the information that you get in a really well thought out picture, we process it so much faster than if we had to read the text that describes everything in that picture. So pictures are hugely important in social media. There should be pictures accompanying pretty much every post that you're putting out there. But sometimes pictures don't cut it. Sometimes we need graphics to go with it, or we have to put some text over it. Pictures also will catch the eye of the person who's scrolling through. So we have whole networks that are built on pictures, like Tumblr and Instagram and Pinterest and everything else. It's just really important that we have good eye-catching pictures and graphics in order to stop that person who's scrolling through, catch their eye, and make them want to read what we've put there.
Yeah.
Anything else you think?
Sure.
Any other reasons why pictures are uber important?
I think so, because actually the information that we take away from a photo or a graphic is also very different than what we take away from text when we read it. So if you think about it, if you think way back to illustrated storybooks and how the very best ones, the pictures tell the story, and the text or the story in words is supporting the illustrations. So really, I think when you approach graphics for social media, do I have a delay?
A slight, very, very slight.
I can see myself in delay. I look like a subtitled foreign movie. Anyway, when you are thinking of using graphics for social media, you should think of it in much the same way, so that the picture tells a story by itself and draws you in that way. And like music, photos and images and the visual should draw us in emotionally. Words don't do that as readily, right? You have to kind of get through to the end for the words to deliver their impact. So the visual is the hook, the way to bring someone in, but it's part of the whole story. What I often see people do that's a bit of a waste of opportunity is they will sort of duplicate the same thing they say on the graphic in the text that goes along with the graphic. And I'm guilty of that too. And I catch myself and I think, oh, missed opportunity. So I like to now try to think about how can I use text with the graphic to fill out the story. And then all of that is really just the hook in most cases to take you somewhere else. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes that's the whole post. But I think it's important to think of graphics as in partnership with the text. And how can you have them both tell the story together?
Yeah, great points. Okay, so one of the things I want to address, because Colleen's listening, no, not because Colleen's listening, because I really believe it, is that it's not always appropriate for you to do it yourself. So when are times that you think people should not be trying to do it themselves? When should they be outsourcing to a professional designer?
Oh my goodness. Well, can we go off just strict social media here and talk about business
Sure.
graphics?
Yeah.
For sure, for business cards. Like you will often see someone who's quickly done up a business card, and that's fine for just getting started, but really you should invest in a good business card that's well designed.
Starting with the development of their brand, their logo.
Absolutely.
I do not believe most people are equipped to design their own logo.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And, branding isn't just the logo, but your logo kind of becomes the first thing that people recognize. But it's part of the whole package of your brand. And your brand is not even just visual, but it's largely visual in terms of how people recognize your brand. So for sure, that should be done professionally. And for sure, you should get copies of files that you can later use on social media that have a transparent background, that are high enough quality, that are like an EPS file that's dynamic. You can make it a higher quality or a lower quality if you need it. And sometimes people don't know what to ask for from a graphic designer. And sometimes graphic designers withhold those files because why pass it along if it's not going to be used, right? It's not something they might automatically pass along, but if you say to them at the outset, okay, on delivery of my logo, I'm going to need these things as well because I'm going to be using them on my website, on my social media, on posters, on takeaways that I hand out on my business card. And you really need a professional to design it professionally so that you don't have trouble down the line trying to use your logo in those ways.
Yeah, definitely. So Colleen has said over here, and this is coming from a professional graphic designer, once you have your brand, once you have your logo, and you have it in different formats, then there is a lot you can do on your own. You don't have to go to a professional for everything. And sometimes you don't have time to go to a professional because, Colleen is busy. Colleen is really busy, so she can't always get to your project as quick as you need it. So in times like that, there are lots of programs out there where you can do some things yourself. But so you talked about business card. We talked about business cards and brand development is one time when you should hire a professional. I think for the most part, you should be hiring a professional for anything that's going to be printed. So if it's a brochure, if it's a poster, if it's a conference program, things like that, there's so many little things that we just don't know how to make things look better. The line spacing, the justification, the white space, how to make things aligned and all that. I mean, I know some of that stuff, but our programs, Sherry says she can't hear me.
Try refreshing, Sherry. I had to do that earlier when I was watching Blab. It might be your connection. It might.
Maybe
we're
you're
not
on
sure.
mute. Maybe she's on mute. Yeah, so I think anytime you're going to have something mass produced in print, you should go to a professional, because the print houses need things in a certain format, first of all, that you may not be able to provide from the programs we're going to talk about, or you may not know exactly how to provide that. But also it needs to be in a certain, DPI, certain pixel sizes and all that kind of stuff. And there are times when you just want to have a professional do something, because it hurts your brand to not have it done professionally. So I think anytime it's being printed.
Oh, for sure. I mean, to try to do it yourself, you can try, but it's like diving in and starting to renovate your whole basement, and you're not really a renovator, you're not really a builder. You're going to find a whole bunch of surprises after the fact. Like, when you print, the color format has to be CMYK when you print on paper, but for the internet, it's RGB, right? So it's like, all right, well, how does that convert back and forth? And as you mentioned, the different pixels, like there are just so many particulars, just in addition to the pure design, which a professional should do. So yes, for sure. But there are a lot of DIY resources out there for social media, which is great news. And you had identified some of them earlier, Anita. I know when we were.
I did, yeah, and I want to go there next. I want to say one more thing about hiring a professional, and this is a hard one. But if somebody ever tells you that you suck at design, you need to go hire a professional. Just if somebody tells you your stuff is hard to read, or it's blurry, or it doesn't make sense, or it's repetitive, or whatever, then go talk to a designer and get some help with it, because you're only hurting your brand by putting out stuff that doesn't look good. And I know it's very subjective, and I know it's hard for people to critique their own design work, but I'm not a designer. I suck at doing design. So I hire out that stuff as much as I possibly can, so that my brand stays consistent, and so it looks good, and it's in all the right formats, and it doesn't get blurry, and fonts are readable, and there's not too much text and all that kind of stuff, because I know it's important to have a professional looking brand. So if anybody ever tells you your designs suck, then go hire a professional.
Exactly. And if you're determined to do some things on your own, there are lots of things you can learn to do on your own. I mean, I am not primarily a designer, but I do have some background in it, and I did learn some principles about 10 years ago, and then I've just been learning since then as much as I can. So if you're going to start to do it for yourself, it's really important to get a good grounding, a good foundation from a professional designer. So a good way to go is hire somebody, or if you have a friend who's a professional designer, or you know someone who's willing to help you, get them to sit down with you for a chunk of time and show you the absolute fundamentals, and have them give you feedback on what you produce. And don't expect to be great at it overnight. It's like anything. It is years of experience, learning, trial and error, getting feedback, responding to that feedback. Sometimes if what you produced sucks, you can learn to make it good. But some people have no eye for design. So you have to figure out if you have an eye for design or if you don't. And I think we're going to talk about some of the tools we can use if we do have, enough of an eye for design. Yeah. And these tools almost make it foolproof.
Yeah, there are a lot of tools out there built specifically to help small businesses like us with their design needs for social media, because it became so important in the last couple of years to have good designed, well-designed, maybe I need to go get some help with grammar, well-designed graphics for your social media presence. So the first one that I used was GIMP, G-I-M-P. And GIMP is the free version of Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, I think. It's a free version of that. it's heavy. My goodness, it takes up so much space on your computer. It is really, really heavy. And it does, I don't know, I learned how to use 1% of what it did. But it was all that there was for me at the time that would do something for free, because I wasn't going to pay for Illustrator or Photoshop because I don't do enough of it. This was free, so I fumbled around with it and I was able to do a few things. But in the last few years, so if you're looking for a free alternative to Photoshop, you could try GIMP. I'm sure Photoshop itself is very heavy on your computer. But then I discovered Canva, and Canva's only been around for a couple of years. I'll type that in here. It's canva.com. And it's full of templates, free and inexpensive templates for every network. So if you say, if you go there and you say, I want an Instagram post, it automatically brings up an Instagram sized square in the right pixels, and templates that you can use to put in text and graphics and pictures and everything. And all you have to do is drag and drop them in and change your text and click save, and you're good to go. So Canva is an amazing product, but you still need to have a bit of a design eye, like Tina was saying. You still need to know, okay, this font isn't readable for this much text, or this is too much text in a small picture, or this color, you can't read this color text over top of that picture, and things like that. Some people don't always realize that what they're creating isn't readable because they know what it says. I think that's the biggest thing. So if you're going to get into doing your own design work, it wouldn't hurt to send it to a friend and say, hey, does this look okay to you? Can you make this out? Can you read it? Is there anything you notice? Do I have any typos? Because we all make typos.
Well, the other thing I just wanted to add about adding font or adding text to any image, just to keep in mind how prevalent mobile use is nowadays. So even if you're looking on your big screen on your desktop computer, it's very likely someone's going to be looking at that on their small little mobile phone, right? So you have to really pay attention to how that's going to affect the legibility of what you've got on there. And, that's something I've recently realized myself, like, oh, I have to limit the amount of text because it's just, nobody's going to ever read that on something small.
Yeah, absolutely. So Canva is currently my favorite graphic design program of choice. I bought the pro version, Canva at Work. I've written a couple of blog posts about it, so next time Tina's talking, I'll go find those blog posts and I'll post them. But what I love about Canva at Work, the paid version, which is only, I don't know, it was $120 for the year, I think.
Yeah.
I can go in and I can pull in all the elements into one design. So let's say I make an Instagram graphic for something. There's a magic button. It's called Magic Resize. And you click that button and you say, I need a graphic for Twitter, for Facebook, and for Pinterest. And you click go, and then it pulls all of your design elements into the proper aspect ratio graphics for each of those networks in new tabs. You go to each one of those tabs, and in some cases, it's perfect. You don't have to do a thing except rename your file and download it. But if you do have to do something, it's maybe just resizing the text or resizing the pictures or just moving things around slightly to make it work better for a different network. But the main work, if it's all done, everything's right there. You just need to drag and drop and squeeze and pinch and whatever to get it to look the same. And then your graphics are consistent across all the networks, which is
that's
really nice. Really, really nice. So that is what sold me on Canva at Work. It was that button, the Magic Resize. But the other beautiful thing about Canva at Work is you can actually go into your profile. You can upload your corporate fonts. So my fonts are Cinnamon Cake and I forget what the other one's called. So I uploaded those TrueType fonts into Canva, and now all the graphics that I make, I can use my fonts that are on my blog. You can
Awesome.
put in all of your corporate colors, and the colors automatically are there for you to choose when you're changing colors in templates. So you can very quickly change everything to match your corporate branding. So I haven't got enough good things to say about Canva. I really, really, really love it.
I would be using it exactly the same way if I wasn't already using Photoshop. And even hearing you talk about it, I think it just probably saves so much time to do it that way. And, I think really it's the only tool to recommend for people doing DIY graphics because it's so far superior to every other tool. It even if you use the free version, which I have used a little bit in the past, and I went back this morning to remind myself how it all works, and it's very similar to every graphics program where you have layers and you place things and you figure out what you want where and all of that. So it's I wouldn't recommend any other tool actually for DIY social media graphics.
Yeah.
Canva does it all, and it does it either for free, or if you want a certain image that isn't free, it's $1.
Yeah.
Or if you want to get the pro version, it's what, $10 a month.
Something
It
like
is
that.
free or practically free, and it's a really brilliant tool.
Yeah.
So that's the one.
And Guy Kawasaki has some kind of involvement in it. I don't know if he's a co-founder or what, but it's only going to improve. It's only going to get better, and they're only going to put in more and more features. So Canva's really great. There are two competing products that I know of, and one is Pablo. So Pablo is owned by Buffer. So if you're using Buffer, you can go in, and if you don't have a graphic to go with your post, it says create a graphic. So you click on that, and I haven't tested that one. I can't say anything about it, but I know some people that really like it. It doesn't have all the functions that Canva has, but it's an option if you're a Buffer person. The
Right.
other one is called Relay That. Craig Carpenter, I'm kind of surprised he hasn't hopped on yet, because if he sees something about graphic design, he usually jumps into Blab. And I've talked to him a few times. His product competes with Canva. So his product, it's very, very template oriented. So you find a template you like, you put in your text, you put in your picture, and it actually will, you don't even have to click the resize button. It will show you right there the different formats of your picture in the pro version.
Wow.
And at the time, there was no free trial of the pro version. So I never got to really play with it.
Yeah.
However, the downside to Relay That for me was that in the other version, so if I created it to look proper in Instagram and I would go and look at the Twitter version, sometimes it didn't work perfectly. The pictures weren't centered where you needed them to be, or the text was off, or it was usually the pictures that didn't work. The problem with Relay That is you cannot currently change that. It doesn't allow you to then move the picture or pinch and squeeze the picture to make it fit better. You just have to go with the template the way it is. And so that was my big problem with Relay That. And from discussions that I listened in on with Craig, the founder, he doesn't plan to change that.
Right.
So it doesn't work for me, because I can't just put something in and have it come out not centered or whatever. And it was just a simple fact of you're changing aspect ratios. It doesn't always work. But that's why I'm going with Canva and not Relay That. But Pablo just doesn't have all the features either. So those are the ones that I see in the market right now.
Yeah. And I, like I said, I went back to remind myself how Canva works, and I remembered it being great, but just not really needing it. And so I used it for one of my Instagram posts today. One of the issues I did find with it is that when I wanted to add the logo, this client's logo, to the image, I had it in EPS format, and so I couldn't use that, and then I was like this rigmarole to convert it. Anyway, so I just took it without the other issue was the background, the photo background didn't work with the logo. It kind of, they drowned each other out. You couldn't really see the logo. So I took what I mostly created it in Canva, but then I took it into Photoshop, and from there you can add more layers. So I could add a layer that let me put a little translucent, background in behind the logo where I could make it pop out and get the logo in there. So I love Photoshop because it is very flexible and endlessly flexible, but it is more time consuming, and it does involve a bigger learning curve for sure. But for people who know a bit of Photoshop, like, you can use it for social media, and you can have your templates ready to go, your template sizes ready to go. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you create a graphic for a link on a Facebook page. You can have that size template ready to go as a layer and just build from there. So there are some time-saving ways to use it. But I think for most people, Canva is going to be the answer for sure.
Yeah, and you can actually add more layers in Canva. It's just not intuitive how to do it. I haven't figured it out yet. So I know you can add those translucent shapes and layers and things to make that stuff pop. I'm not interested in getting that into it. So when I do stuff in Canva, it's very, very simple because I don't enjoy graphic design and I'm not good at it. So I do very, very simple stuff. Most of what I'm doing with Canva is using their templates and changing the text, but it works.
And it's beautiful. Canva, it's a designer's tool. It's designed by designers. The product is beautiful. You're not going to walk away with something that looks less than professional. So it's something I think that everybody should check out if they haven't already for social media. And it's cheap, it's free or cheap. So there's no excuse to not try it. Okay, so what's next on our
I'm just going to grab these two links here for the Canva or blogs that I wrote. So how Canva might make me tolerate graphic design. Because at the time I was using GIMP. I was using GIMP before this and I hated it. Hated trying to do anything with graphic design.
I tried to use GIMP way back when, and I found it, probably my machine just couldn't handle it. I found it really cumbersome and I just didn't get very far with it at all.
So the first one is why I started using and why I loved Canva. And the second one is a bit of a tutorial on how to create all the blog graphics you need. So you start with one, maybe your Instagram, and how to use the magic resize and get what you need. And it takes me like 10 minutes after I've got that first one to have everything resized and have a Pinterest, a Twitter, a Facebook, an Instagram, and there's another little piece that I need for my blog headers right now. So 10 minutes after I've designed the first one, I've got all of those ready to go. So it's beautiful.
And thanks for posting those links. I think they'll be really helpful. And the other thing is, like, you're so used to doing this that you've just glossed right over the fact that on social media, you do want to be able to create the right size graphics for every channel that you're on. And you want to be able to share on every channel that you're on with a graphic. And that, as we mentioned earlier, that catches someone's eye. And whether or not they click on it, you still get brand recognition every time it goes through the feed. So even if I've never clicked on someone's link, I recognize their brand. And I'm like, oh yeah, they're out there. They're out there working, they're doing it. Oh, they're talking about content marketing again. Okay, right. So it has value just in the same way a billboard has value on the road, on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Right.
And it also, it makes you look more professional and makes you look like you care more about what you're doing when you've taken the time to make those graphics fit each platform. So it's nice that we're getting to the point where we might be able to use the same one on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram and Pinterest, because all of them, you can use a square. It doesn't show up everywhere on Twitter as a square. It doesn't work on mobile yet, I think. Maybe it does now, but it didn't a little while ago. So you could actually use the same square on all of them, but it's not ideal for Pinterest to have a small little square, and it's not ideal if you wanted to use any kind of advertising on Facebook to use a square. You'd have to have the 1200 by 627. So
Yeah.
you still want to create them all and have them all ready to go. And the other thing is, even when I shared the link to this blab on my Facebook page, it comes up with the profile image for blab, which they just changed to square, to 1000 by 1000, which works for Instagram and works for Facebook, but it doesn't work for a link on Facebook. So I had to replace that image with another image that was appropriate size. Otherwise, we just got our faces, not the text of when everything was happening. So little things like that just make you look a little more professional, and they make it look like you really care about what you're putting out there. So every network has an optimal size, and how do you figure that out? Well, I'm glad you asked, because there are people out there who spend a lot of time keeping up on this, and I've got two fabulous resources for you here. The first one is John Loomer, and he is the Facebook advertising guru. He knows everything there is to know about Facebook advertising. That link is a link to his infographic that shows every image size possible on Facebook. Every little thing. And it might take you a little while to decipher all of them, but the good news is a lot of the different graphics are actually the same size or the same aspect ratio at least. So if you put up, the main things are your cover photo, a thumbnail, a post, and a link. Those are the four main aspect ratios on Facebook. If you create those, you're golden. But you can't use a cover photo in your thumbnail picture, and you can't use your thumbnail picture as an ad, and so on. So that link right there tells you all of the sizes you need for everything on Facebook. And I would trust his before I would trust any other infograph that's out there on the Facebook sizes, because he is the one that's going to update it the fastest.
Exactly. Yeah, he updates it all the time. But a word of warning, it is really overwhelming to go to his site, because he's into minutia. He's into every single possible different dimension, plus the area on the screen that's optimal that you should, focus on it. Don't let that freak you out. Just use what you need to get started and go back when you're ready for more.
Yeah. But if you need to know what size to make a graphic to go on the cover photo of your Facebook page, that will help you. It's 851 by 315 right now, I think. If you need to know what size to make a Motivational Monday graphic to put on Facebook, that infograph will tell you that it's 1200 by 1200 works. I don't know what that one actually says. And then it will also tell you the size that you need to have if you're going to be advertising on Facebook, which is currently 1200 by 627. So those are the main things. And this is a great place. Keep this bookmarked, because he will update it when anything changes, and then you'll always have access to all of the Facebook dimensions. Now, that's just Facebook. He does not worry about anything else. He's only Facebook. So here's one from HubSpot that talks about all of the networks. So whether, I don't think they're doing, I forget which one I decided they didn't have on there. They don't have Lab, obviously, but they've got Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So they've got all of the dimensions that you need to know for all of those networks. Whatever piece you want to know, it's listed there. And it's actually much better organized than John. It's way less overwhelming, because it's just the basic stuff that you need to know if you're trying to create something. So that's a really good resource there too.
And while you're putting those links up, I'm just going to add a link to Font Squirrel. So in addition to your images and your dimension sizes, you may decide that you need more font selection. So you can go to a site like Font Squirrel, and there are a lot of free fonts there. Very easy to download them to your computer and use them and DaFont. Yeah,
Yeah, DaFont is the one that I usually use, but they probably all have the same fonts, really. I don't know how they get them.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, so DaFont is the one I've been using. Okay, so what about apps that you use specifically on your phone for doing design work?
My favorite app, well, I do a couple sneaky things. So sometimes I have a topic related app, and I don't use this one for business, but I use this one for my personal Twitter account. I really enjoy art. So I take a little art break every day and I go into an app like, what's it called here? Daily Art Pro. And I post that, but it gives me a beautiful image of that photo and some background, the story on the photo. And I pick the ones that I really like. And I used to study art, so I'm like, oh, I love Premiere. Anyway, so sometimes I will use other apps that are not meant for social media content. And all I do is I save the photo or save the image to my phone and then share it on Twitter from there. But on Instagram, my favorite app is definitely Over. It's still Over. Over functions just as easily and intuitively as Canva and Photoshop, in that you build layers, you have a background image, you can control everything basically. You can control the image, and it's been updated over the last few months, and it's really good now. So you can choose the right dimensions right in there for different platforms. You can add your font overlay, and you can change the font style and the font color. You can even use a function to choose a font color right from some part of the photo, the background photo, if you want to. You can create a shadow underneath. You can go to search Google for your own logo or for any kind of PNG file with a transparent background that's on Google and put it on your Instagram image. So it's really, really useful. I think it's called Made with Over if you check on your desktop, but it's the Over app, and it's worth getting the Pro. It's only a few dollars, and there's always add-ons. Like, you can add on more fonts and more this and that, but you really don't need all the add-ons. But I love it. I find that it makes content production on my phone for Instagram super easy. And I don't use it all the time, but whenever I do use it, I think, oh, thank God I have that. It's so easy. That's my favorite.
Okay, so Michelle was saying she uses PicMonkey, and I tried that a few times. It wasn't one that I really took to, but I know lots of people that use it to do things, and it's pretty simple. I'm not familiar with ByCrop for Instagram, so I've never even heard of that one. The other ones that I have Layout, of course, for Instagram, which is by Instagram. So if you have a bunch of photos and you want to make more of a collage style post on Instagram, you could use Layout. The only other one that I have on my phone really is InstaQuote. And I downloaded that and actually bought the Pro version when I was at Social Media Marketing World last year, because I wanted to create quotes from the speeches I was listening to and put them up right now. So it came with all kinds of backgrounds and font choices and templates that I could use. But when you bought the premium version, then you could upload your own. So I actually have all my own Twerp Communications backgrounds in there, and I just use their templates, and I can make a graphic of a quote that I hear really, really quickly on my phone and share it straight to Instagram. So that one was InstaQuote. And I love that on my phone.
Yeah, I have that one too, but you know what? I haven't used it a lot. And I think it's because you get into the habit of using the one that you're familiar with that works for you.
Exactly.
But I do like it, and because for that reason, it's quick and easy, and definitely in that situation, it would be great to use. There's also PicFlow. Have you used PicFlow on Instagram?
No.
It is a way to create a story with pictures and present it as a video. So in PicFlow, you can take however many photos you want. You can time how long, well, up to 15 seconds. That's, your limit on Instagram. And you can add music if you want to. I'm not sure if you're allowed to add copyrighted music. I've never added music to mine. But it's great. If you're, I don't know, telling the story of an event, you could take a whole bunch of photos of what's going on at the event and just do a PicFlow, like a little video moment, and leave all the text, some little, not a lot of text on Instagram usually, but you can put the text just right as a caption and have your photos tell the story. So that one is one I forgot about, but I was using it in the summer quite a bit, and I do really like it. And that's a way to create video without creating video, just from your images.
I'm just looking to see if that's available on Android, because, yeah, it is actually.
Yeah. And Stacy's saying it sounds fun. It is really fun, and it's a bit of a time suck too because it's so fun.
Yeah. And the other one you talked about before is Legend.
Yeah, Legend I don't like as much. At first I tried it, and it's good for some things. Legend has a particular aesthetic to it, and it's very masculine and like sharp angles and sharp movements, and the options are a bit limited. But having said that, having led with all the things I don't like about it, it still is an app that allows you to create a video with your photos, including text. So you can have a key message and you can have it appear and disappear in different ways and transition. So it's one worth checking out. It's a few dollars too. It depends what you want to do. If you want to create content where you have pictures and text transitioning in and out from one another, it is a good one to check out.
Yeah. I want to quickly mention an old program that I don't use anymore, but I think could be really helpful for people who are DIYing. It's called PageModo, and it started out as just a way to make custom Facebook covers, Facebook page covers. I think they have some other features now in terms of making like static page tab pages and so on for your business page, but they have different templates for your cover photo. So they have some collage templates and all kinds of different things. So if you don't like Canva, PageModo is so super simple to use. You just sign in and drag and drop some photos and you're good to go. It's really, really, really extra simple. So it's a good one if you just need a different kind of cover photo. And Tina, do you want to tell us about the program that makes all your fun cartoons?
Well, that one is probably for the adventurous DIYer. It's I use, now what the heck is the name of it? Bitstrips. Yeah, thanks.
I just saw it.
I'm glad I put it out there. Yeah, I go to Bitstrips, and Bitstrips is, I don't use it exactly in the way it's designed to be used. It is designed as a social platform. I don't use it to build community there. I use it to create fun animated graphics. And what I love about it is you can build a person including all of their features from scratch. So you can sit there with a photo of a person and you can build your animated person to look as much like them as possible. And it gets pretty accurate. And so the graphic for our show, The Social Coast here, is using Bitstrips. And then after you create your person, they're just a character in your library. And so every time you go back to Bitstrips, you can pull them out, put them in a new strip. But if you're not going to use it as a social platform and you're just going to use it to generate content, you just your characters, start moving them around give them some emotion. You can change their expressions. You can change what their eyes are doing, what their mouth is doing, what their body is doing. You can animate your character any way that you like. You have to be able to kind of imagine how it's going to look on your other piece, because I always have some other piece in mind for this character. I'm going to take it back into Photoshop. That's step 2. So step 1 is to create the character in bit strips. And if you want to do it simply, you can just do something simple. And then I just screen capture it. I take it over to Photoshop. I clean it up to get rid of all of the white that surrounds the character. So it takes a little bit of know-how in Photoshop just to clean it up. And then now it's an image with a transparent background. And I save it as a PNG file, which will preserve the transparent background. And I've just got it for use wherever I want to put it. And sometimes I stick it with my logo. Sometimes I'll stick it on a fun graphic. You know, I have one that's for joy. And if I'm feeling particularly unjoyful, I use the joy one. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put joyful. I call her Joyful Tina on the file. I put Joyful Tina on something, and it's just part of the brand that I've created with that character. And it's easy to use if you have a little bit of Photoshop know-how. And if you don't have a little bit of Photoshop know-how, you can still use it if you can live with the white background that you're going to get with the character. So you just have to place it somewhere else with a white background, or, you know, be strategic, or use it in a particular way. Use it as the bottom layer on something and then put text with it, something like that. So there are limited ways to use it if you're not, if you don't feel comfortable cleaning up the bit strip in Photoshop. But that sort of thing too, you can just play with it and learn it pretty quickly over time if you want to. But that's how I do it. And it saves a ton of time. I don't go into Adobe Illustrator and create characters from scratch. That might be down on my list somewhere years into the future, but it's not a skill I'm going to learn right now. So yeah, that's how I create the characters. And I love the fact that Bitstrips lets you have so much control over how you can customize the characters. And so Anita, I saw someone say to you the other day that your Bitstrip comic character looks so much like you.
Yes.
And I thought, that's because I had her photo on the screen. And mine is meant to look like me. And so my comic character got a haircut when I did a few months ago. You can go in and make those adjustments too, which is really fun. So if you want to use a comic character in a story type of way, or even just as identifiable part of a brand, it's definitely a tool out there that you can use to your own purposes, even if that's not exactly how that was designed originally to be used.
I love that you use it that way. I have no interest in trying to figure out how to do any of that. I just don't have the energy to figure out another program. I just don't. But you know, that's what makes your brand unique, is that you've taken the time to figure that out, and everybody's got to have a unique feel to their brand. So it's great.
Yeah. And you've got yours. Yeah. I mean, you've got your twerp codes.
Exactly.
So basically they function the same way, and you just have them developed a different way.
That's right.
But it's the same idea.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stacy asked a question, and that was actually the main part of what we wanted to talk about last. Is, you know, a big part of graphics is not just, you know, cartoons and text and, you know, drawings, but a big part of what you need to work with are images. And not everybody has access to, you know, a photographer or a good camera or images that they can use for free. So there are tons and tons of places online to get free images. The first thing we need to say is you shouldn't take them from a Google image search, because chances are they're copyrighted and you really shouldn't be using them. And we have seen, I mean, there is one local blogger who has a bill from a photographer saying, you used my photo without permission, you owe me $5,000. I don't want to get too much into that, but if you just take something off of Google and use it for your own promotion, there is the chance that somebody's going to find out you used it and come back and say you owe them money. There are tools in the Google search that will help you find things that you should be allowed to use, but quite honestly, when you start putting in those filters, your search results just come down to almost nothing. So that tells you that there's almost nothing on Google search that you really should be using. Yes, good for that.
But there are some sites. Anita, are you about to talk about the site where there's some Creative Commons Zero photos?
Yeah, exactly. So you can go to Creative Commons and you can search there for things that you want. So everything in Creative Commons, they have different levels of usage rights, I believe. I don't particularly enjoy searching Creative Commons. I don't find it intuitive, and I don't ever really find what I need. So I know that Creative Commons is there in Google, and you can go and search for things that you can use. So that's one way to do it. But there are tons of free resources. So I found a bunch. Most of these came from Linda Daly at Daily Progress, off a blog post that she did. But every year, HubSpot gives away a huge file of stock images. So they have, obviously, photographers on site who are taking images of all kinds of different things. And they give away all the stuff they don't use. Now, sometimes it's crap, honestly. Sometimes you're just looking at it going, why would they even take that? But it might be better than the one you tried to take of that same situation. You never know. Yeah. And if you crop it differently, or if you do different things to it, sometimes, they give away huge files full of stock photography every year. Yeah. So I've got 2 or 3 of them, and they're always themed. So one year we got holiday ones. They were Christmas ones and Thanksgiving and Easter and whatever. Another year it was around the office. So it was people on computers and phones and around boardroom tables. I have all those. I have them all. I haven't even unzipped some of those files yet, but I have them just in case. So that's one thing, if you can get a hold of the HubSpot ones. There's another spot called freeimages.com. And as far as I can tell, this used to be the one that I used. It was called the Stock Exchange. So this is owned by
iStock by Getty Images.
Yeah, it's owned by iStock, but these are the free ones. You just have to be careful when you see something you like. They put paid ones, they put for sale ones at the top and for sale ones at the bottom. So you need to be careful that you're actually
even on the side.
Yeah, you have to be careful you're picking the free ones if you're trying to find free images. But that's definitely an option. And then these other ones were ones that Linda had listed. I haven't actually tried, but I know Linda always has fabulous stock photos, and I know she's not paying for them. So Morgue File, Morgue File is one. Unprofound. I have to go check these out, but Unprofound. Whoops, too many tabs open. I'm getting confused. freedigitalphotos.net. There's so many places, and they're not always as good as the paid ones that you could get, but sometimes you have to settle. You just do.
Well, the thing is, there are a lot of really beautiful, I just put 5 resources there, and they do include 2 of the ones that you said. They include the free images and what was the other one? Oh, Pixabay that you just put up. Pixabay is one of my favorites because I do think the images are a great quality. They're really good size. They're searchable. There are a number of categories that you can search through, but you can also just keyword search. And there are like 500,000 photos to look through, and they're all professionals. So it is my new favorite place to go first to look for images. And it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to find what you want. And I definitely discovered that on International Women's Day as I went to all these free photo sites and I typed in women and women working. And what do you think came up? So working women, right? Well, there were a lot of underdressed, over-sexualized photos of women and little else, right? So that was like 95% of what I turned up. So you're not going to always find what you're looking for. Sometimes if you just try a different keyword search, you can go in from another angle and still find something really close to your original idea. But sometimes, like Michelle in the comments here is saying she's just finally broken down and bought some credits to buy photos. Sometimes you're just going to find the photo you want and you're going to pay to use it, and you know, that's going to help a lot. Yeah. But I think Michelle will find, like, if you do look through these sites, you're going to find just tons of beautiful, really high quality photos. It's just a question of whether or not they actually work for the idea you have in mind.
Yeah. And then finding the time to go through and find them. I mean, Colleen's doubled our list here with other free resources. She's adding a whole bunch of new ones in here. Michelle's saying, I'm bookmarking all the things. But just to go through 10 different sites to find that one image that you want. I mean, there's so many free sites out there for us. So many sites.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And look for, if you find a site like Pixabay, the reason I love it is Creative Commons 0, which means that you can use anything you find there completely free. You don't have to give attribution to the maker. It's not licensed in any way. There's no royalty in any way, and you can use it for personal or commercial purposes. So really it's free reign with those photos and images. So that's why I love Pixabay. Plus it's not surrounded by a whole bunch of sponsored photo ads where you're going to click the wrong thing and get redirected a million times. Yeah. So Pixabay is probably my number one, but I haven't checked out all the links that Linda recommended either. But look for the Creative Commons 0 because it just gives you like maximum flexibility with that photo and what you can do with it for free.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a lot of resources for everybody to digest this week. Lots of free things to go and check out, programs to learn, and tons and tons and tons, thousands, literally thousands of free photos that we'll be able to check out. Watch us all pick the same one next week for something. That would be hilarious.
That would be quite the odds.
That would be hilarious. So I think we're just about coming up on our 1 hour here. So thank you to everybody for chiming in with your free resources and your questions and your comments. Thanks for joining us. We're here every Friday at 1 o'clock Atlantic, 12 p.m. Eastern, talking about something different in regards to social media every week. So please come back, join us, ask questions. If you have topic ideas, let us know as well. You can tweet them or find us on Facebook. And we'd be happy to have some topic suggestions from people who want to listen in. So everybody go and make pictures now on Canva. Go find some new pictures on all these sources and go and have some fun. All right.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us.